Welcome back to the second part of the coding series, ASMR series, where I code a word search program in Java. So in part 1, if you haven't watched that part 1, there's a link down below. You should watch that part before watching this one. If not, then this part will be coding, actually putting the words in this grid, because since part 1 is just coding 25 by 25 grid of random letters, this part will be more interesting, as I will actually put the words, I'll get the program to actually put a list of words into this grid of 25, this 20 by 20 grid of letters. So let's do it. So right now, this grid has a lot of random letters, but there are no words hidden in this program as of now. So now I'm gonna configure this program a bit. So now all it does is just print a random grid of letters. And now I'm gonna start making new methods. So what I'll do is I'll add another attribute, private boolean filled spots. This is a boolean 2D array of booleans, in which, if it's true, that means that spot on that grid is filled with letters, is already filled with a word. Because my idea is that it'll be false. The grid will at first have all random letters, in which it will be false. All of the array spots are in false. But once I actually put words in it, this Boolean array, 2D array, will be updated so that that space here will be occupied by a word that's inside the grid. So now, and I'll add another attribute, private string array. Word list. Okay, so that's done. List of the words, self-explanatory, list of words. Okay. So now, how can I get the program to place a word into the grid? So what I'll do is I'll make a method to place a word inside the grid. Okay. So I'll do it. Public void. It will not return anything because I will just modify this array and this array. Place words. This method place all of the words into the grid. Okay, now how can I place the words? So I'll try something out. For now, I'll get this program to place one word into the grid of letters. So I'll try this. Test word equals test. since this is just a test, I'm just going to use this word just to test it. This will not be temporary because at the end I'll have like a list of multiple words will just be stored in this list of words, and I'll get this program to eventually take all of the words in this string of words, which I'll fill later on into the random grid. But for now, I'll just test with one word. Okay. For that, I'm going to make a helper method, which will actually place the word into the grid. I'll leave this method for now, and I'll work on another method. It's private because I will not use this method in another class. Place word. It will take an input of a string of a word. What I'll do is I'll get the program to generate a random number from 0 to the length, the dimension size of the grid -1. But for now, I'll try to place a word on the top left corner. Let's try 0. And my idea is to loop one word, each of the letters in the word, and place it in the grid, either horizontally or vertically. Okay. So I'll do that. But inside the loop, I'll modify this grid. Letter grid. I'll just do, and the index will be X and Y, as these will be the coordinates. But since I'm only testing it so that I'll place it in the top left corner of this grid, I am going to just place it in that, and I'll assign that to word dot character at I, because we're looping and using the iterator and looping through each of the positions to extract the letters. To recap, I'm initially, when I create the class initially, I use this constructor. This is called automatically when I generates a random grid of words, of letters. And I'll call this method, which all it does for now is to use a test word, and use this test word as input in this call, and calls this method, which actually places on the grid. So now I'll try to run it. First I'll just call the place words method, and I'll print it out. So let's test it. Let's see if it works. And I got a freaking error. Ouch. That is not good. That is not good. String index 44. Oh, I forgot to shift a Y, because I'm just gonna do it horizontally. Let's try it again. Nope, I did not fix that error. String out of range. Okay. So something's wrong with the loop here. It should be less than. Okay. And now it should work. So as you can see, the word here is filled in to the grid. So that's part is good. That part is good. Okay. So now I've got one word placed. Now let's try to place the word either horizontally or vertically. Okay. So what I'll do is that I will get a random number, which will determine whether the word will go across or downward. So let's do it. Random. Wait, since it's signed, I already created a random variable. But now I'm gonna create a random number. I mean a random number of type int. I'll just put an integer, 0 for horizontally and 1 for downward. Next. The bound will be 2 because it's just to generate a random number between 0 and 1. Just put 0 for downward, alright, for horizontal, across, and 1 for downward. Just keep in mind that all of the words will be placed, that it's not going to be backwards, and that there will be no diagonal words, just to simplify things out for this video. So here, this line of code just inserts into the grid in a horizontal fashion, because Y is the column and X is, I think that's the row, so Y will just be the column. because it's as the index of the column is shifted, the columns will be shifted, the letters will be placed horizontally. And then if I would shift the row index, the letters will be placed in the index of, the index of the next dimensional array. Whether I try to explain that or not. I try to explain that, but it's something to be all about 2D arrays. And so, and I'll write an if statement here, which will decide whether I will place the word horizontally or vertically based on the random number. So if direction is equal to 0, then I'll place it in a horizontal fashion. And I'll do an else here. If the number is not 0, I'm going to place it vertically. And what I'll do is that instead of shifting the y column, the y index, I'll shift the x index plus I. Okay, so now I'll try it. I'll try it now. So it's horizontal here in this case. The next one, still horizontal. And now it's placed downward. Test. All right. So since I placed one word in the program, what I'll do is to now actually generate the random number. My next step is to place the word randomly on the grid. Okay. So now what I'll try to do is that instead of hard coding X and Y for these start positions, by the way, just take a note, start position, I'll make it so it'll be a random number between 0 and the grid of between 0 and letter grid dot length minus word dot length. What it's doing is that it will generate from a random number between 0 and the size of the grid minus the length of the word, so that the word does not come off the grid. Okay. This is the bound. And I'll do the same thing for Y. And yeah. So now what it's going to do is that it'll put the word randomly on the grid. Okay, it's test. That was not the one. Okay. Now it should work. So now the word is more hidden. And I already have trouble finding it. Where is the word? Darn, this is... Okay, now I found the word. It's here. Test. So now I've placed one word. What I'll do is that I will update the grid so that the word is placed on the grid. So that the Boolean, the Boolean array, do you remember this one? That means I'll have to update so that that spot is already filled with the word. Because as I fill in the word, the letters aren't random anymore. And so now I'll have to tell the update this array so that it will refer this, it will know that this array, that this part of the grid has a word filled in. You know what I'm saying? It's not a random letter. So what I'll do is that I'll use the same index iterator, and each iteration now it updates this dot filled spots I and J. It will be true to indicate that that spot parallelly, in a parallel fashion, that it's filled with the letter. Okay? Because once I will get the program to put in more words, I'll make sure that they are placed, that they are not overlapping. Okay, let's now try to place two words. Okay, so now I came back after a couple of errors and running the program with errors. I found a stupid mistake. It should have been here, because before I actually put that line of code in this loop, which generates random letters. But now I actually fixed it. And I was running the program, wondering why I had an error, realizing that I made this silly mistake. So now it should be fixed. So it's just this loop fills in the letters of the word and also updates this fill spots 2D grid, which is the same size as this. It's just set it to true so that it knows, the program will know that this spot of the grid, particular coordinate or spot, has been filled in with a word, a letter of a real word. So now what I'll do is that to prevent myself from having trouble finding the word, I'll first get the program to generate 25 lowercase letters in random, and actually making these words capital letters, like that. This will be temporary and this will not be permanent, because what I'll do is just for testing purposes, I'll find the words better. Okay, so now instead of doing one word, placing one word into the array, into the grid, I'll try to get the program to place multiple words. Okay, so let's try a string array. New string. I will actually put the words. Write myself 5 random words. Short one, hello. Third one will be subscribe. I can't spell. This one will be, what else say? Eclipse. And the last one will be, let's do a month. Let's do December. 5 random words that aren't related into each other except for the hello and subscribe. And yeah, now I'll loop through the array so that it places each of the words into the grid. This is where things will actually start getting fun, becoming really interesting. As now, I'll try to I'm placing multiple words. To make it feel more of a word search instead of finding one word in the hidden in the grid. Only one word. And I'll call this method place word words index I. So now let's try it now. Another error. Whoops. I got another error. Sweet. What did the error say? What did the error say? I'm going to remove that first because we don't need it anymore. And it got this error again. 3758. It's a null pointer exception, meaning I have to set this 2D array I'll have to set this to the array and set it to false by default. I think. I don't know what's causing that that value to be null. I don't understand. Okay, let's see the error again. I can't find I closed my terminal. Place word 58. Let's close it here. Place word 58. I was stupid enough that this attribute is null because in the constructor I did not create the 2D array in the first place. Wow, okay. This dot filled spots equals new boolean. Yeah, Boolean 2020. And yeah, this should work now. Let's try it now. And it got cut off. Okay. So I've got some capital letters. And for some reason, found one word. December. Yeah, I still can't find words. So instead, for testing purposes, instead of doing them default, I'll just set it to dash, because I can't find the word. Like I said, I will change it later. And yeah. Okay, so I actually placed the words into this grid, and the program is well on placing the words all in a horizontal fashion. I'll try to do it in vertical. Yeah, it's for the words. Let's try one more time. And yeah, Eclipse subscribe, and here there's another one. There's 5 of them. Why is there only 4? Whew. For some reason there's only 4 words here. I guess some words may be overlapping. So I guess I will have to create a first check so that the word doesn't overlap. Okay, so I'm back. Had to cut the video because I need to take a little break, but now I'll have to do the hardest part, in which I will check. I'll try to get the program to place the words so that the words don't overlap. And now, what I'll do is that I will create a helper method that will check that if the word is placed, it will return a boolean if it overlaps. So like if it overlaps, it returns true, but if it does not, it returns false. And so also I'll have to take another input, which is direction. And what I'll do is that I'll just copy these loops here, because what I'll do is that I will just, because these loops just places the words, but these loops will just check that if the word is placed, it will overlap. So what I'll do is that inside, since we're not actually placing the words, this is just a check. This is just like checking this grid here. Because if the word if placed has a true value and the same coordinate, it'll just return true. That overlap, which means it would overlap. Okay. And what I'll do is that do another if statement. If it just checks the filled spots. Just checks filled spots. If that is true, I will return true, meaning that it overlaps, word overlap. And I'll do the same thing here. Turn that if that is equal to true, what I'll do, return true. And if the coast is clear, then after it exits the loop here, it will turn false. Word would not overlap, which is good, because if it would be false, the word would fit in which I will place the word into the program, into the grid. Okay, so what I'll do is that I'll make another loop, a nested do-while loop. So that every time the program will, instead of actually placing the word, instead of actually declaring the variable in the place word, I'll just use an input from another existing method. Int direction, int x, int y. And so instead of just put it here, words that you'll just, in this iteration, I'll just generate you assign it here, and also assign the direction in this, and direction, just rewriting the notes. 0, 4 across, 1, 4 down. Okay, and I will typo here. Okay, that should work. So basically, this will keep. What I'm trying to do is do a loop here, and it will generate these random numbers until while check if overlaps. While check if overlaps words .I direction whoops I'll just do declare it outside the loop, because these are not in this is not in scope, so actually declared outside. That should work. Equals true. So this will keep generating random start x and y's in a direction such that it would still overlap, and it would exit the loop once this is false. And then after that, I'll actually place the word. Right like that. Words of I, and these X and Y variables, because now it has multiple inputs. Okay, so now I'll try it. Let's see if it works. Ooh, it works. But to verify it, I will actually put a note saying, I'll actually print out something here, because I don't know if the program actually generated a random number that it would overlap. So I'll test it, so I'll know that the program, I'll know that this program works, that if it generated a bad coordinate that would not fit, it returns that it overlaps. Word overlaps. I tried a word. Placing on the grid, it overlaps here. Whoops. I don't care. Yeah, like that. And here. Like that. I'll keep running. So as you can see, in the backbone, as the program tried to run, at one point the word, when it generated one pair of numbers for the start position or something, it overlapped from an existing word. So it printed that one and it misspelled overlaps again. So now, what if in the case that a word intersects another word that shares the same letter, what could I do in this case? Then, in the case of that, I'll actually let the program insert the word that it intersects, that overlaps, but that the intersecting letter is a shared letter. Oops, sorry, that turns out my video had been cut off for some odd reason. But now I updated the method check overlaps, that there's an exception where if two words intersect, the letter is shared. The letter would be shared. Like if the words have shared a letter, like sonar and solar, the A would be shared letter, and if it would intersect, the A would become the intersecting letter. And in that case, if this word isn't true, as well as that the letter of that grid is not the same letter, it will return true. Okay, so that should work, but I think I should be almost done. And what I'll do is that I'll check in that case where it is intersecting. I will print a message that there's an intersection going on, and that the program had a shared letter when it's intersected and it's placed on that word. Where did I find it? Okay, so it has to do with the placement. So I'll do a temporary if statement. I'll delete this afterwards just to check something out. if the letter grid, yeah, do this if statement, the word character that I actually do it before placing it. This indicates that there's an intersection with shared letter. Okay. This is good because this method has been run. Since it's already checked, this method will be called. And now I'll try it. Almost. I'm going to keep running this program until there's a intersection going on. So it's generating those words. Really good. Another one. I'm just going to keep running until there's an intersection. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Almost. That one's almost intersecting. This is gonna take forever. This takes forever. Hello. Okay. And this keeps generating random words. Wow. Okay, as you can see, I use a smaller grid because I try to increase the chances of getting a case like this. So here it is. This is the word. Here's a case where I created a grid of words, a word search grid, and there's a case where there's an intersecting word with a shared letter. So as you can see, the word December and the word eclipse share the letter E as they intersect. So this is really good, as if even though this overlaps, the program lets you place the word. The program lets it place the word on the grid, even though E overlaps, but it's a shared letter. So how? So that works now. So now, what I gotta do is I will now fill the grid with random letters instead of dashes. Now I got it handed in. Now I got my program tested and working now. And now I'm going to make it capital letters. So now it feels like a real word search. And what I'll also do is I will print all of the words. So one more method which will print all of the words. Private void print all words. This one, which will just use this weird or string. This dot word list. All this method will just print each word. Sys out. Print line X. Okay. Plus
new line every time. And after that, I will print the word. I'll just set it to public because I will just use it. Print all words. And I should be done. Let me see. Ouch. Yep. Null pointers. Ouch. No good. No good. I actually did not use this attribute, so let's just remove that and I'll print this word out with this method. I don't really need this because all I do is just print all of these words here. And I should be good now. So now, let's see how it works. Let's see if I could get this program in. And now I got a full working word search. So these words are all hidden. Words, hello, subscribe, eclipse, and December. So, the first word I find is subscribe, in which you should already do after you watch this video. And I found eclipse already, and let's try to see if I could find December. I found words already, and December, it's going downwards, and hello, it is here. So yeah, I found all of the words here, and I've got a fully working word search program. I could have improved it a little bit better and putting the list in another column like this, well, but this is in fact a good, fully working word search program. And so, this marks the end of this video. If you have gotten the tingles, or if you have enjoyed watching me code with maybe the occasional errors, hit that darn like button down below. And subscribe if you want to see more ASMR, lo-fi, or just some general coding content. Like Code With Me series or anything like that. I might end up coding a game of battleships or chess in the future in like 3 years from now. Let's see if that would work. And so, have a good day everyone, and peace out.